Hello, my name is Dr. Pop and today we're gonna talk about 5 beautiful stories from classical music. Story number 1. In the 19th century, Franz Liszt was a superstar. He played piano concerts in Paris, London and Berlin. The term Lisztomania came up, long before people were talking about the Beatlemania. This is a cartoon from 1840. And as you can see, his female fans completely freaked out. In those days it was quite fancy to get a curl from the artist. And at some point Franz Liszt didn't have enough hair left on his head, so he came up with a genius idea. He organized a curly-headed dog, like this one. The dog went on tour with him and backstage Franz Liszt cut off some curls. And luckily the fans didn't notice the difference between his hair and the hair of the dog. Story number 2. This is Louise Farrenc. She was a composer for chamber works and for orchestral pieces, but she was also a professor for piano. In the middle of the 19th century, she was working at the Music Conservatory in Paris. One day, she found out that the salaries of her male colleagues were much higher than hers. She didn't accept that. She went to the management of the conservatory and she fought for the same payment. She was successful. It took 8 years, but in the end she got the same payment and she became a symbol for the fight for equality. Story number 3. Beethoven was known as a very difficult neighbor. In his time in Vienna, he moved 69 times. This is documented in the city register. He composed in the middle of the night, he was screaming, and to get good ideas he sometimes poured ice-cold water over his head. So somehow he was the inventor of the ice bucket challenge. Does anyone still remember this? That was the small edition. Beethoven was also a very romantic guy. Here are some quotes from his love letters. My angel, my all, my very self. Even when I'm in bed, my thoughts rush to you. No other woman can ever possess my heart. Never, never. Ever yours, ever mine, ever ours. Story number 4. Mozart also received a letter, but not from Beethoven, from his father, Leopold Mozart. And the father wrote to Mozart in German, quote, "Vergiss das Populare nicht." End of quote. That means, don't forget the popular stuff in your music, so the catchy melodies. And Mozart got some help to create those. In fact, a bird was living in his house, a starling. And Mozart called the bird Mr. Starling.
Who's my precious jabby bird?
Who's my precious jabby bird?
In 1784, Mozart wrote into a notebook that the bird loved to sing along to his piano concert number 17 in G major. Maybe this was partly composed by Mr. Starling. Story number 5. Giuseppe Verdi is in Italy. He goes to the opera and he runs into someone who plays the barrel organ. Verdi noticed his own composition, La Donna Immobile. Verdi goes to the player and asks him to play the piece next time slower, in the correct tempo. A few days later, Verdi stops by at the same place and he can notice his composition again, and this time in a perfect tempo. He's satisfied, he tosses a coin into the head of the player. Suddenly he sees a sign, which hangs now on the barrel organ. And it was written by the player and it says, "I'm a student of Giuseppe Verdi." So let us know, do you know any other beautiful stories from classical music? Please write them down in the comments. And do you still remember the ice bucket challenge? See you next time.